Hi, guys. Good morning. Today is today is the 4th of July, July 4th, 2024. And I'm going to wait for at least one person because it is 7 a.m. It's 6:59. Okay, there's one person. Who are you? Say your name. Say your name. Two people. Who are you? Stephen. Sojourning Assembly. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for getting up with me, Tahila Gomez. Oh, your gentility truths. Okay. I have to remember that. Okay, guys, so today is July 4th, Independence Day. And Ani Lippitz brought to my attention that today, Christina. Hi, Karina. So Ani told me, she texted me that today on the Hebrew calendar is called Koach Sivan, 28th of the Jewish month Sivan, which happens to coincide with the day the Lubavitcher Rebbe landed on the shores of America. Is coinciding with Independence Day, which is amazing, an amazing convergence of calendars. Hey, Choice Times. Hey, Ruthie. So today is July 4th, and today is Koach Sivan, the day the Lubavitcher Rebbe landed in America. And I have learned from Shifra Hendry, and it resonates deeply, that the Lubavitcher Rebbe was the incarnation of Moshe Rabbeinu of this generation. And I brought him up, you guys. I wanted him on my shoulder today. I had that painting commissioned about 15 years ago. And it sits in my dining room. And I brought it up here so he could help me speak today and say what I need to say and help you guys understand also. So the question that's been rolling around in my consciousness is asking Moshe Rabbeinu why? Like, why did you take out the Erev? What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Why did you do it? Why did you give us this almost impossible task of coexisting with this invisible enemy of humanity that has just been revealed to us the most clearly ever historically in the past 4 years by Donald Trump and the Q team, as they brilliantly showed us the Biden movie, the Biden show, and thereby revealing the control structure, the globalist control structure that has had humanity in a vice grip. And we call this, in Jewish terms, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, the people who war on God to try to get control of the planet, period. They did it in the generation of the flood, in the generation of the Tower of Babel, and they left Egypt with us. They were the magicians of Egypt. In each incarnation, they originated. Where did the Erev Rav come from? From the 130 years, this is in Kabbalah, and the 130 years that Adam separated from his wife after Cain killed Abel, he was so devastated that he separated from Eve, and he cohorted, commingled with demonic spirits that were created on the 6th day of creation. And he introduced all this demonic energy on the planet. And we've been dealing with it ever since. And they reincarnate in many generations, and probably in every generation, but most notably when they are destroyed by God in the flood and the Tower of Babel, when everything was confounded. And then again, when they left Egypt, and each time they come back, they get more and more rectified, and more of them are redeemed. More and more of the Erev Rav are redeemed each time they incarnate. And this is why this exile is taking so long. I figured it out. It's because God, through Moses, is giving the ear of Rav every single opportunity for every single one of them to join back with the side of humanity, with the side of God. And each time they come back, more and more of them do this. And we see with Donald Trump, I saw this, I put this together this morning, that even Trump gave each one of those rats the opportunity to do the right thing. With Pence, I remember with Pence on January 6th, he said, is Pence going to do the right thing? And he didn't. So Trump understands this game also of giving the ear of Rav, the Amalek control globalist deep state structure, every possible opportunity up until the last minute when God calls game over to redeem themselves. So I understand. Moshe Rabbeinu encompasses all 600,000 souls of the Jewish nation. All the souls of humanity are held within him because he came from the soul of Abel, who came from Adam, who Adam contained everybody in his soul. So by default, Moses also does. And because of this, he wants to see every single part of humanity come back online as much as possible. And the two analogies that I came up with for this process are the classic one given about Moses, where he is the shepherd of humanity. And as the shepherd, Moses wants every single tiny sheep, every last sheep, to enter the promised land with us. He doesn't want to leave any behind. The second analogy, there's a great switchboard in the sky. And every soul that is redeemed from the dark side and plugs back into the switchboard in the sky that all of us are plugged into, every soul that comes from the furthest location and plugs himself back in, when the lights get turned back on, it will be that much brighter because more of the soul energy of humanity is plugged back in. So I understand better why Moses did this thing went against the advice of God. He went against the advice of Hashem. Who does that? And Hashem allowed it. And I was texting Anya at 4 in the morning because I was having these epiphanies come in like fire. They were coming in hot. And I said to her, you know what, Ani? The only unknown variable. Okay, God created the universe, right? He created this universe and he's omniscient and omnipresent and all the things. And he knows every outcome and every possibility, right? What is the only thing Hashem has to surprise him? Like a computer game, all of the possibilities are plugged in. All of the outcomes are plugged in. All the possibilities you can go in many directions inside a video game. So this world is a video game that Hashem created, and he knows all the possibilities. But the free will, human free will, is the only unknown variable to God. He doesn't know. Which timeline man is going to choose. And even if he does know, all the timelines play out in parallel universes, right? You have to understand the concept of a parallel universe. So the strongest parallel universe that shows up in the majority of reality is the one that's chosen by the free will of man. And this is what surprises God. It is the only unpredictable, not unknown really, but the only unpredictable variable built into the system, into the construct that delights and surprises God. And God goes along with it. This is what Ani was telling me. God was is delighted to see our free will choices and follows that path with us, follows that lead with us. And Moshe made this decision because he encompasses all of us. So we all made this decision within the soul of Moses to play the long game, the 3,000-year game of what? Of trying to collect back as many sparks from the Erev Rav as possible and plug them back into the grid, into the circuit board. It's a lot to process. And this week, in our chat, in our Telegram chat, has been a week of understanding how to do the work, the emotional work of reclaiming the shadow aspects of ourselves. Erev Rav is the shadow aspect of humanity, the darkness. And for us individually, shadow work just means going back to places you've been traumatized and where your soul, a fragment of your soul, went offline because you felt you needed to protect it, and you created a defense mechanism, an ego defense mechanism in its place. You hardened yourself, you hardened your heart to go back and find that peace. Find where you act too hard in life, where you're too defensive, too sarcastic. Go back, find the emotion, trace the emotion of shame, fear, guilt. Trace that emotion in your body, feel where it is in your body. Me and Ruthie were doing this. For example, if you say to yourself, I feel shame in my body, I feel shame, whatever you did that you feel shame about, I feel shame. I allow myself to feel the shame. This is from Jesse Taylor. I allow myself to feel the shame in my body. For me right now, I could feel shame in my lower left back. And then I say, I love the feeling of shame in my body. And you make friends with it and you bring it back online and you can recover this lost part of yourself, because shame and guilt were the first emotions that Adam and Eve felt after the sin. So every time we heal those emotions within ourselves, we're rectifying the fall of Adam. Another example that I thought of about shadow work was personally for myself. I think something happened when I was a kid, and it felt unsafe to me to say that I made a mistake, to say that I was wrong. I had to pretend to be perfect and do everything perfectly. And then I remember the moment, I think when my husband apologized once to me, he's like, I'm so sorry I did that wrong. And the realization hit me that I don't have that ability, that I don't know how to say I'm sorry, and I don't know how to say I did something wrong. And I felt the shame of not ever realizing this about myself. That's the moment you're bringing the fragment back online, when you're like, holy crap, I never realized it was in the shadow. I couldn't see this about myself. I couldn't see this negative trait. I couldn't even see it. And when it comes into view and the shame that comes with it, love the shame, feel the shame, accept the shame. And that is how you plug that lost piece of your soul, that lost fragment of your soul back online, back into the circuit board of your own soul. And each one of us, has traumas and has parts of ourselves that are too reactive, too hard, too cynical. Whatever defense coping mechanism we created as a child to protect that aspect of our soul that was injured, reclaim it, soften your heart again. And when we do this work internally, individually, inside our own soul, we encourage the external Amalek, whose entire soul went offline. The majority of their soul went offline, um, and disconnected from God. We encourage them energetically to come back, to plug back into God's source. So Moshe kind of he kind of gave me the answer this week. I was asking him, Moshe, Rabbeinu, why would you doom us like this? And he's the shepherd. He is the faithful shepherd who doesn't want any of the flock not entering the land. And he prolonged his own entrance into the promised land to give the Erev Rav the time they needed to redeem themselves, whichever ones, before the game is up, before God calls game over. He is giving each sheep in his flock the opportunity to come into the promised land with him. He stayed back with them. What a shepherd. What a shepherd. And the part of the Torah where Moshe's dying, and what are his last words to Hashem? And I literally choke up every time I read it in the text in the Hebrew. He says to Hashem, "Do not leave this people like a flock without a shepherd." He was a shepherd until his last breath. And then I realized the Lubavitcher Rebbe never got to go to Israel. How is that possible? Because he is Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu cannot enter Israel unless he has redeemed as much of the Erev Rav as he could. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. So Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't go to Israel. And with Gates, he met with Netanyahu. He met with all the heads of Erev Rav. And he looked them in the eye. And he tried again in this generation to reclaim them back to the side of the light. He didn't fight them. He met them with love. He met them with Tiferes, which is Gevura and Chesed, which is the synthesis of love and strength. He was a tough cookie, the Rebbe. He wasn't a pushover, but he did it with love. And I saw all these people trying to say he was part of the cabal because he had pictures with all these main players. And today I really finally understood that he was meeting with them to try, as a shepherd, to try to bring them back. Yes, he was. I also realized that the Rebbe couldn't propagate the Zohar. This is big, you guys. This is scandalous to say. But the Erev Rav are most terrified of the Zohar because the Zohar describes in great detail who they are and what their game is. And once the people know their game and know how to identify them, the jig is up for them. So they try to prevent the dissemination of Zohar by making it taboo, forbidden, whatever mechanisms they've used to try to prevent its dissemination. So I understood also that the Rebbe couldn't come out blatantly and say, study the Zohar, learn the Zohar. But what did he do? Because that would make their heads explode. He couldn't do a direct confrontation to the Erev Rav because it would elicit too much of a lashback. He had to wrap the Zohar in Hasidus, in a lifestyle, in a practical lifestyle, in order to get the population to practice Zohar without handing them the book itself. He was softening the klipa. He was softening, he was getting it ripe for now. And it was probably Rev Berg who was given the tafkid to bring the Zohar to the masses. That's why he was defamed. Now we know. Now we know. And the vision I have, the vision that I carry in my heart is for a time very soon, very, very, very soon. For us, for all of us, for all of humanity. To lift Moshe Rabbeinu up on our shoulders. Like the winning team at the end of a game does for their coach. To lift Moshe Rabbeinu on our shoulders and carry him into the promised land. And set him down on the earth in Israel, in the Holy Land. So his feet, his human feet, can touch the holy earth of Israel. It's time for us to carry him. To understand why he did what he did. To get the greatest collective outcome. To play the long game. It could have been worse. It could have been longer. What's 6,000 years? Yeah, this is the vision. And I want to say out loud to the universe, to all the Shamayim that's listening to us right now, to all the cosmic creations, to all the souls, that we trust you, Moshe Rabbeinu. We trust you, Raya Mehemana, faithful shepherd. We trust you. We trust this decision you made. Not to leave any soul behind, to try to reclaim as much of the dark side as possible, to bring their souls back online, to generate the greatest light. We trust you. We trust you. We trust you. We trust you. We trust this decision you made against the advice of God. You had a vision that we are going to see so soon. We are that generation, guys. We are this generation that came back. The generation of the wilderness that came back to be the first ones to carry Moshe across the finish line. We let him down in the desert so many times. But we're not going to do it this time. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt at every turn. We're going to trust him till we can't trust him no more. Whew. Okay, guys, let us go to the Zohar. Let us learn together the holy light, the radiance of Zohar to accelerate this Geula. To bring back the light that was lost through the worship of the golden calf. ריבון העולמים וידוני האדונים אב הרחמים ויסליחוס מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו בקידו ובהשתחוויה שקירבתנו לשורשך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש ונשאת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה Ma anu umechayenu asher asisa imanu chesed gadol kazeh. Al ken anachnu mapilim tachanunim lefanecha. Shetimchol v'tislach l'kol chatosenu v'yavonosenu v'al yihiyu avonosenu mavdilim beinenu u'levenecha. Uv'chreni hu ratzon lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avosenu shetachonei nes levavenu lirasecha l'ahavasecha v'sakshiv oznecha l'dvarenu. Ela v'tiftach levavenu ha'orel v'sodos torasecha v'yihiya limudenu zenachas ruach l'fnei chisei chodecha kareach nichoach v'ta'atzil aleinu or makor nishmasenu b'kol b'chinasenu v'sheyis notzitu nitzitos avadecha hakadosha masher al yadam gilisa dvarecha ela b'olam. Uzachusam uzachus avosam uzachus torasam utimimusam ukadushasam yamod lanu leval nikashel b'devarenu ela. Ubizachusam ta'er einenu b'mesha anu lomdim k'ma'amar ne'im zemiras Yisrael gal einai v'yabita niflos mitorasecha ki Adonai yitain chachma mipiv da'as usavuna. Yihiyu l'ratzon emrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali. Parshas Korach, Rabbi Gozlan. He begins by saying, non-incarnated spiritual beings, beings without bodies, even demons, he says, are interested in hearing secrets of heaven from the Zohar. And these demons are actually transformed into angels by hearing the secrets of the Zohar. Why are they so interested in the secrets of heaven? Because the words of Torah constitute the true name of God. And the true name of God emits so much luminosity and has so much attractive force that there is no consciousness out there capable of resisting it. Boom. For example, so you understand better, there is a group in Judaism called the Chevra Kadisha. They are the people who take care of the burial of the dead. It is known by Kabbalists that the Chevra Kadisha, when a person is dying, there is a resistance to dying. The body grabs the soul and doesn't want to let it go. There are people who die with great difficulty, and then there are people who die with sweetness. If you were righteous, the soul comes out of the body like a hair from milk. A Rasha, an evil person, a person who is too married to materialism, the soul comes out of the body like cotton from a barbed wire. When it is time for a soul to die, the angel of death cannot remove the soul. When he cannot remove the soul easily, what happens? The divine presence has to appear, has to make an entrance, whose attraction is so strong that the soul detaches from the body. This is the attractive force of the divine presence. And this is why even demons cannot resist what we are talking about right now. And they are transformed into angels through the speaking of the Zohar. Even disembodied spirits have tremendous attraction for the divine presence. The secrets of heaven generate a tremendous happiness inside, in this world and in the future world. When a soul leaves this world, it desires to go to the celestial academies that we spoke about in the last class to learn more about the secrets of heaven. Korach, this week's Parsha is Parshas Korach. Korach fought Moshe. Korach wanted to inherit, sorry, not inherit, I can't read my writing, wanted to insert the right side with the left, the side of peace with the side of discord. He wanted to bring discord to the side of peace. He confronted Moses. He questioned his leadership. Rabbi Gozlan said, when the forces of evil want to introduce discord in the world, they use one tool. Can you guess what that tool is? Slander. Slander is the first domino to create chaos and discord. And the serpent knew this. The serpent slandered God to Eve. And that was the beginning of the end. Enormous chaos erupts from slander. This chaos also spreads in the spiritual world. One who slanders below creates chaos above and below. When we defame or slander, we are responsible for creating chaos in both worlds. It makes you never want to utter a syllable of slander out of your mouth ever again. If we created this chaos only in this world, we would be able to try to fix it. But because we have created chaos above, how can we fix that? One who creates discord through defamation has caused injury to the name of Hashem called Shalom, peace. The only way to rectify this in the world above is to keep Shabbos. One who keeps Shabbos brings peace to this world and the world above. Rabbi Gozlan said, where did the first slander come from? The snake in the garden to Eve. What did he say to her? God doesn't want you to eat from the tree of good and evil, because if you do, you will be as powerful as God. The snake was actually right, Rabbi Gozlan said, but he's not interested in being right or wrong. He's interested in creating chaos and discord through slander. The death that Adam and Eve brought to the world was not only physical death. It is all the deaths we experience in life. The death of relationships, the death of businesses, divorce. He said, Shabbos is the cure. Imagine a plumbing problem in heaven, and the water cannot reach us. The water of abundance cannot get through the pipes. Slander puts mud in the pipes and prevents the blessings. The entire story of Korach ended with God opening up the earth and swallowing Korach and his followers and his family because God was furious with those who spoke slander of their neighbors. The best way to be on the outs with God is to slander. When Korach confronted Moses, what did Moses do? Moses and Aaron fell on their faces. They invoked the angel of death by doing that. Why? Because the fissure created in the upper world was already too deep. And they knew that only a divine intervention would put an end to this dispute. And that's why it says a man who only marries a woman for her beauty and not for her virtues will not have peace in their home. Because if she is not virtuous, it will lead to slander and chaos in the home and eventually divorce. And we know this. We know that Korach's wife was the troublemaker. She whispered in his ear. She kept saying to him, "Why is you're Moses' cousin? You're part of the family. You're part of the big family of Levites. You should have the same honor." She goaded him. She prompted him. She provoked him. And then we see in the Parsha the wife of On ben Peles. What did she do? How did she save him? He was part of the following. He was part of the uprising. She sat in front of her tent and brushed her hair. And the men came up to the door to get On ben Peles out of his house, to round him up. And when they saw her with her uncovered hair, they turned and left because they still were holy, Jewish, pious men. And it shows you how a wife can make or break a man, the wisdom of a wife. The job of the Kohen, says Rebbe Gozlan, was to bring peace to the world. He said, who took over that job now that we don't have the Kohen? He said, women bringing peace to their Shabbos table. And I want to remind everybody, I made a note, if you feel yourself, and sometimes I feel this on Shabbos, that I want to pick a fight with my husband. I don't know why. On Shabbos, I just do. I'm not sure. So I'm like, now I catch myself. Because I'll come home from shul and he'll have like eaten at the kiddush or had a drink and I smell the alcohol on his breath and I don't like it. So I'll pick a fight. And instead of doing that now, I grab Tehillim and I say Tehillim 29, which is what Rabbi Gozlan taught us to do. Anytime that the Satan tries to infiltrate your home and disrupt your shalom bias, he said, saying this psalm immediately causes him to leave. And it works. I do it and it works. He said, who else is in place of the Kohen? The Kabbalist, who knows how to close cracks in heaven, fissures in heaven, through his meditations and intentions. The Raya Mehemana, the faithful shepherd, Moshe Rabbeinu, And it's funny, I don't know if I said this already, but I want to repeat this if I did, that the same love that I have for Moshe Rabbeinu, this inexplicable, automatic love that I always felt for Moshe Rabbeinu every time I saw his name in Tanakh, this connection that I feel the same category of love for the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And it tells me they're the same soul. It informs my soul that they're the same soul. And I also have that love for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that same love. Also for Rabbi Meir Balanes. I'm not sure how that connects. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was the incarnation of Moshe Rabbeinu. And we know Moshe Rabbeinu incarnates within the Erev Rav in every generation. Moshe Rabbeinu reincarnates within the Erev Rav within every generation. The Lubavitcher Rebbe we saw when Chabad went along with the Vax campaign, I knew they were infiltrated. Chabad does wonderful things in the world, but the higher ups, the ones in charge, have definitely been infiltrated because the first thing they did was kick out Michal Green. They kicked out Michal Green. I knew we were in trouble with Chabad. But we understand that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Moshe Rabbeinu, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe, chooses to incarnate within the thickness of the Erev Rav to try to bring them back. Same thing with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai as Moshe Rabbeinu, as the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu, during the time of the Romans, when they were trying to kill every last Kabbalist, the Asara Haruge Malchus, the 10 martyrs. Everybody who was trying to pass down the Zohar father to son, they were trying to burn alive, trying to terrify every last one of them, until Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai fled and hid in a cave, taught it to his son, gave it over to his chevra, so it wouldn't be lost. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai transmitted it that way, and I think Yeshu transmitted it through the parables of Christianity. They both, in their own way, transported the Zohar to us for this time. One inside Judaism and one inside Christianity. So it would be safe in both locations. It's a lot to process. So when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in the cave, getting the wisdom from Moshe Rabbeinu, who appeared to him, and Eliyahu Navi, who appeared to him, he was really talking to his higher self. He was really talking to his higher soul, his oversoul, who is Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu came back to himself to bring back the tablets, the Zohar, the first set of tablets that were shattered. He saw the opportunity to do it. In that incarnation, he came through for himself. Okay, back to Rebbe Gozlan. The Raya Mehemena, the faithful shepherd, Moshe Rabbeinu, on this Parsha of Korach. Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in a very strong prophetic connection inside the cave. Here comes a super sod, a super secret. The soul that comes to this world and needs a redemption, a pidyon, for having allowed itself to be seduced in other lifetimes. He said, if you want to redeem your firstborn of your soul, your nefesh, the first aspect of your soul that incarnated, if you want to redeem that, you must dedicate yourself to the secrets of the Zohar. Moshe Rabbeinu said to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, if God redeems your soul, the soul of all of Israel will be redeemed. Because Moshe encompasses all of our souls, are held inside his soul. So if Moshe redeems himself through the Zohar, he redeems all of us through the Zohar. through transmitting it back to us on earth through Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Here comes the story of Mashiach. Mashiach comes to rescue his own soul. All the shadow aspects of his soul, which is the Erev Rav. Each one of us has a spark of the soul of Mashiach. When Moshe rescues his own soul, he rescues all of Israel. This is why he took out the Erev Rav. He did not want to leave any fragment of his soul behind. He wanted to give each one the opportunity. I don't think everyone is coming out. I think some are too far gone. And that energy will be recycled. But every single soul that has enough light, has incarnated enough times to redeem itself back to the side of light, will get to enter the promised land with Moses. Redeeming your firstborn, Rabbi Gozlan explains, is redeeming your first impulse to anger. Anger is called idolatry. The soul is so sensitive that at the moment, oh no. Okay, phew. Did I freeze? Are you guys with me? Are we good, you guys? Okay, we're good. Thank you, Choice Times. How long was I frozen? Okay, hey Chase. Okay, I'm just going to read this last part from Rabbi Gozlan. Okay, fine. Thanks, Hiroko. Okay, in a moment of anger, the soul is so sensitive that it will leave the body. When the soul returns to the body, it comes back. After this moment of anger, it comes back with an attachment, an energetic attachment that creates chaos in your life, corresponding to the moment of anger that you allow yourself. You said the only way to get rid of it is, we learned in another class, through a moments of humiliation where the demon cannot feed off of you anymore. Or he said that the repair is to offer financial assistance to people teaching Kabbalah, because then you partner up with them and you get half of their merit, and they know how to rectify the fissures of heaven. He said the first impulse in human nature is the impulse of the body, and the second impulse is the impulse of the soul. He said, wait for the second impulse. He said that's why it's hinted at in the Torah. The second impulse is hinted at where in the Torah? The fact that the second born son always gets the blessings. Isaac got it instead of Ishmael, Jacob instead of Esav, because they represent the second impulse in our nature. The impulse of the soul, to give it inside any moment that you are triggered. Take 10 deep breaths and react with your soul instead of with anger. And this is how to keep your soul online. And this is how to keep yourself free of attachments. And then Rebbe goes on inside this class, went on to give out a huge secret of how to cleanse your house from any negative energy. And it is, I wrote it down. It's like this, it's the name of Metatron in like inverted upside down and like in, what did he call it? In Atabash, which is a Kabbalistic way of replacing letters. It's amazing. I understood it. I can't teach it because it's complicated, but if you want to hear about it, go to this class on Parshas Korach, which is class 140. At the very end, in the last 10 minutes, he explains it. Okay, the last two things I want to do is read from my Sensino and read from Chanoch, our boy Chanoch. Korach. Numbers 16. Now Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahas, the son of Levi, etc. He who makes the right left and the left right, as it were, lays waste in the world. Now Aaron represented the right and the Levites the left. Korach sought to make the right and the left change places, and therefore he was punished. Further, the evil tongue, slander, was found in him, and for that also he was punished. Rav Judah said, the left should always be embraced in the right. Korach sought to change the order of that, fixed both above and below, and therefore he perished both above and below. Took. It says Korach took. What did he take? He took an evil counsel for himself from his wife. If one runs after that which is not his, it flies from him. And what is more, he loses his own as well. So Korach pursued that which was not his, and he lost his own without obtaining the other. Korach quarreled with peace, with the name of Hashem, Shalom. And he who quarrels with peace quarrels with the holy name, because the holy name is called peace. Rabbi Yossi said, the Torah is also peace, as it is written, and all her paths are peace. Proverbs 3:17. Korach tried to upset peace on high and below, and he was therefore punished both on high and below. But the Levites shall do the service of the tent of meeting at the time of creation of the world. The world was not completed and established until man emerged in his complete form at the consummation of all on the seventh day. And the seventh day was sanctified, and the holy throne set before the king. At the moment when the day was just about to be sanctified, spirits of demons issued forth. But the day was sanctified, was finished up before their bodies were created. And so the world was left deficient with all of these incarnated demonic energies. They were created, they weren't given bodies. When Israel were sanctified and all their grades were complete, with the Levium, the Levites on the left, and the Kohanim on the right, this deficiency from the sixth day of creation was made good. And all was then subordinated to the right, and the world was freed from this defect. And it says, the Levite shall do or make complete. We may also translate, and the Levite shall serve who? Him. The reference being the Ancient One. And the Levite typifying judgment, but for which men would not rise to the higher faith nor study Torah without judgment, nor carry out the precepts of Torah for the service of the Holy King. So we need Gevurah for all of that. But when Korach came and tried to switch the places of Chesed and Gevurah, he caused chaos. Okay. Chanoch. Chapter 12. God clothes Metatron in a garment of glory and puts a royal crown on his head and calls him the lesser Yud K Vav K. Rabbi Yishmael said, Metatron, the Prince of Presence, said to me, by reason of the love with which the Holy One, blessed be He, loved me more than all the children of heaven, He made me a garment of glory, on which were fixed all kinds of light, and He clad me in it. And He made me a robe of honor, on which were fixed all kinds of beauty, splendor, brilliance, and majesty. And He made me a royal crown, in which were fixed 49 costly stones, like unto the light of the globe of the sun. For its splendor went forth in the four quarters of the Aravot Harakia, and in and through the seven heavens, and in the four quarters of the world. And He put it on my head. And He called me the lesser Yud-He Vav-He in the presence of all His heavenly household, as it is written in Exodus 23:21. For my name is in Him. Okay. Thank you guys so much for getting up early on a holiday with me to do this important work of telling Moshe Rabbeinu, we trust you. We trust this decision you made to take out the Erev Rav. We see the long game because we're at the end of it now. We can see it. We see it much more clearly. Hey, you are just trying to redeem all the lost fragments, to bring all the souls online as much as possible within your soul, within our individual souls. Every time we do our shadow work, we contribute to this effort on the collective level. So let's just continue with this effort. And we thank Moshe Rabbeinu for getting us to this point. And we hope to carry you now, Moshe Rabbeinu, to the finish line on our shoulders. I'm going to go live again at 10, you guys. Something very exciting. Me and my friend, Yoel Fingerer, Yoel Kalafari, Joel Finger. He has 1,000 names. I've been friends with him for 4 years. And we are finally going to collaborate and read together what the Ramdu, Rav Moshe David Vali, has to say about Yeshu. We're going to dissect it from the text, the words of the text, together. I wanted to do this with Rabbi Kessin, but I think Yoel Fingerer, who understands about Trump and about Q and about PSYOPs, he's going to be able to decode the PSYOP of Jesus with me. So I hope to see you all in a couple hours, 2 more hours. If not, there's always the replay. Thank you so much for coming this morning. I love you guys.